What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Eclectic Beta Reactions. This go around, we got Akala, Maangamizi. This is lyric video. We're about to take a listen.
Now, if we are concerned with our awakening, it's because we've been asleep. Now, we were put to sleep by historical catastrophes. And you know, when people get into an accident, they need to go to sleep in order to survive the accident. If you're totally conscious when it happens, you won't survive.
How many lives will be lost to the Maangamizi? It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi. It's the Maangamizi.
Now, taking and looking up the word for this, Maangamizi, beforehand, it means destruction, annihilation, catastrophe, doom. Now I know that I tried to make sure I got the lyrics up on screen. I didn't realize I was going to take but I found a lyric video, and I took and went through my comments. This is another recommendation, so I took and actually had the lyrics up on one side. Decided, okay, I made sure I had the lyrics up. I was like, okay, never mind. Well, that was kind of pointless. Here's a lyric video. Let me take a look at the word, because I'd never seen the word, and the story, and it's like, okay. So this is going to be another one of those ones that's going to be full of brevity and just hard truths.
How many lives will be lost to the Maangamizi? It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi. It's the Maangamizi.
Maangamizi meaning African Holocaust, cause we paid a hell of a cost and don't really know what was lost. And the process ain't ever stopped since black civilization dropped for internal greed and external plot. The same ones that taught the ancient Greeks, Greece and Rome helped bring to the knees, then Islam spread across northern Africa. With slavery and massacres, too many hurt, refused to convert, spread south and west, people dispersed, Christianity.
So they're going to take and go to the whole history, apparently. Or he's going to go to the whole history on the mistreatment and slavery. There's a lot of stuff that is glossed over, for sure, when you take and go back and look through history. Like, a lot.
He's not alone in using race and religion for power to expand. Desert caravans took slaves across sand, where they staged the revolt of the Zanj. Enemies always invented mythologies, curse of Ham, so-called prophecy. After
now, when he's talking about Ham, curse of a so-called prophecy, he's talking about the biblical sons of Noah, Ham, Shem, Japheth. That goes back to Ham took and walked in on his father naked, and his father cursed him to always serve his brethren. So that's where the Ham reference comes in.
the migration, there was some reinstatement of autonomous nations. Then floating on the waves of the seas came a plague, a genocidal disease with arms and heads. They looked like men, really they were just dogs on two legs. When they first came, some of our people said go. Most welcomed them into our homes. We didn't know they had hearts of stone, frozen by Western Europe's cold. Also, there were scumbags among us, willing to work for white conquerors' honors. With that collaboration began the largest forced migration in the history of nations.
How many lives will be?
He's talking about the slavery that was committed, or the slave trade that was perpetrated by the European countries, and that existed for a very long time in Europe, longer than many people want to admit it. Slave trade over here in U.S. from the 1600s, it had already been going on in Europe for a while.
Lost to the Maangamizi. It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi, it's the Maangamizi. How many lives will be lost to the Maangamizi? It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi, it's the Maangamizi.
How many millions dead at the bottom of the ocean, thrown overboard like property stolen or jumped overboard, rather than be sold on a mother with a baby in arms? Hold on, what awaited was not just enslavement, but a genocidal impulse craving. They committed unspeakable abuses to make a nigger from an African human. Took a woman ready to give birth, tied her limbs to 4 posts held firm in the main square, made every slave watch, covered her in raw meat, like cutting dogs. If anyone watching, even a relative, made a sound, killed them for the hell of it. This was every day, not the exception. The science of gynecology was perfected on black women, no anesthetic. Said a nigga bitch couldn't feel pain, pathetic. Hang a man from a tree, cut off his penis, force people to eat their own feces, put people in zoos, in a cage, chimpanzee black.
Yeah, this is hard to listen to. I ain't even gonna lie, because this is unspeakable atrocities, man. He's not wrong about that. And to this day, in African countries, there's a lot of African countries that don't allow Planned Parenthood, because they do a lot of their perfecting of procedures that aren't even attempted over here in the poorer African nations where they're allowed in. Back in the day, he's right. And he's talking about people forced to eat their own feces, and then just people put in zoos. Taking a look at Leopold, Belgium, just
Human ape, and it was upon this here atrocity Europe became the dominant economy. Now they play games, pretend it's about names. It's a scheme for unequal trade. Imagine the largest companies today, if all of their employees got no pay. For all of the centuries profit was made, black skin was always branded slave. Even the child of the master's rape could be killed and sold, cause black blood in the veins. But the ancestors fought back, got free. Probably ain't heard of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Probably don't know the Haitian Revolution caused the French to sell half of America, nor the role that Africans played in the Civil War for that same America. If you ain't heard of any of the Maroons or Bogle, probably believe what they told you. But if they set Africans free, cause all of a sudden they grew a conscience, tell me this: why were the masters given compensation and those who suffered not given a thing? Why did they then invade Africa, make African slaves in their own homes, with the Belgians killing 10 million souls in the Congo alone? Why then Jim Crow? Why apartheid? Why did Black Wall Street burn that night? Why collaborators will work for such evil, willing to be tools against their own people? Why AFRICOM? Imperialism for the new age with a brown face on it. That's right, imperialism for the new age with a brown face on it.
And see, talking about Jim Crow and then burning down people, oh, you know, the slaves were released in the 18, you know, under Lincoln. Jim Crow laws, and even before Jim Crow laws, man, but the Jim Crow laws, and, you know, up into the 60s, and even, I say up to the 60s, up still to today, there's just laws that were put in place. The Jim Crow laws, even the Civil Rights Act signed under Lyndon B. Johnson, it basically took the black man out of the home. That's how, if you're, you know, poor black family wanted to take and get any kind of help, well, you couldn't have a man in the home. Well, that right there is going to take and eliminate the most needful thing in any household other than the mom. Two-parent homes, the kids are going to be more successful. So whenever you got people that are in poverty, well, you take the dad out of the home, well, that's just another disadvantage.
How many lives will be lost to the Maangamizi? It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi, it's the Maangamizi. How many lives will be lost to the Maangamizi? It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi, it's the Maangamizi.
Some will try their best to justify this torture, asking you who the slaves were brought from. As if we don't know, tell them get the hell out. Every genocide ever has had sellouts, and the largest wars of humans were fought between people of Western Europe. So by your rationale, it's cool to kill Frenchmen, they kill Germans that look like them. Absurd, right? But when your skin's white, different different set of rules you can't abide by. Dark suffering's not humanized, no surprise, we still see ourselves through their eyes. Darkies became legally human during the course of our parents' life, and the freedoms we have only occur because the ancestors spilled their blood to the earth. Change that much? You so sure? The world's darker people still the most poor? So it's our task to put an end to this. Even those like me with a heritage mix, if a knife's in your back 9 inches and it's only been pulled out 6, when the wound starts healing and we stop bleeding and bleaching, can it begin to fix? When the plague of self-hate's no longer a weight so great, push you to kill one another. When we put a stop to false charity to give with one hand and bomb with the other. When the IMF World Bank along with the puppets no longer strangle our nations. When the invaders don't have military bases in so many places. When the jail cells not packed with black backs and the gats and the crack are no longer factors. When we celebrate true self-determination, not a few token big part actors. When the truth is told and there is the dignity to remember the dead. As long as they're distorting the past, means they have the intention of doing it again.
How many lives will be lost to the Maangamizi? It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi, it's the Maangamizi. How many lives will be lost to the Maangamizi? It's way bigger than the pain that I place on the CD. If I told you all the truth, would you really believe me? It's the Maangamizi, it's the Maangamizi.
So how do you condense history down into a listenable portion? Akala just did it. And it's a lot of uncomfortable stuff to listen to because it's truth. There's a lot of things that are glossed over that aren't even taught. That's the sad thing. There's a lot of things that aren't even taught. Everything's glossed over, and oh well, yeah, they were taken, but they were sold by their own people. That doesn't matter. That's just a fucking justification for shit, man. Like for real. That's a word. Just bam. I don't. There's not a whole lot I can say on this. There really isn't, because number one, I don't want to take and sound ignorant. At the same time, I don't want to take and sound like somebody just spitting out just basically an expanding of what he's talked about. This is what's happened over the course of history. Has just been to the African people. It's atrocious. There's no two ways about it. See that there's you tell truth like that in music, man, there needs to be more stuff like this. It really does. Like if you've heard this song, like if you've got a Facebook, you got share this kind of stuff out, man. There's just so much stuff that you have to take and either be. You either have to take and find the books and the history on it, because if you don't, I mean, you got to take some of the stuff takes some deep digging, especially to take and get past the bias parts and the whitewashing. You really do. So stuff like this is just, man, it's hard to listen to ugly truths like that sometimes, because it takes people. This is stuff I'd never heard the word before, but the history behind everything. I've got I consider myself somewhat of a history buff. There's a lot of history I know of, a lot. And he's talking about ancient Greece and Rome being taught by Africans, especially Egyptians, and even then, and then being turned around and enslaved by the same people that they taught. And the Europeans, like there's, I'm trying to think of whenever I even take a look at it. I think it's like 300 or 400 years even before the founding of the U.S. But brought up the like the Moors, which is a Muslim empire that was there in France, or not France, but in Africa, that took and enslaved people. Same thing with the Ottoman Empire. Just yeah, so the 1400s. That's what I thought. Transatlantic slave trade began in the 15th century. Portugal and subsequently other European kingdoms finally would expand overseas and reach Africa. So yeah, first began to kidnap people from the west coast of Africa to take and slave back to Europe. So yeah, that's not stuff that's taught. That's not stuff that's taught. You take and read history, you're going to read about the 100 Years' War, the War of the Roses, and the conquering, William of Normandy taking and coming over to, going over to the UK and uniting the. And you read about all that kind of stuff, and you read about the different serfdoms and the different kings and Charlemagne, and you learn about that, and you don't learn about stuff like that. It's not brought up. So this is just absolutely outstanding song. It's hard to take and hear, but at the same point in time, the truth's told, the way he fits everything in is just absolutely brilliant. So that being said, please keep coming with recommendations. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Y'all have a lovely one. Peace.